Nigeria's quest for a significant presence in the information technology world may be gaining momentum with the introduction of free Wi-Fi to public spaces in the country. In this next report, our technology correspondent Victor Matthias examines how the week-old Google Wi-Fi has performed and how users can remain safe while enjoying the free service in designated places.
The deployment of free Wi-Fi in public spaces and aircrafts in developed countries where data protection laws are in place is no longer news. Nigeria appears set to join this League of Nations as tech giant Google begins to introduce the Google station in some public spaces in Lagos, Nigeria. So what has the free Google Wi-Fi user experience been so far?
What I noticed is that after 54 minutes it drops down, but it is okay in browsing, everything like that. And I use it for my social media activities. It was fast, it was perfect, it was okay.
Free Google Station 21st Century is an open network. From what we've tested on now is very, very weak. 1 bar in a computer village here, 1 bar. I don't know of other location.
But just as the benefits of free internet connection seem limitless, there are detriments, as not all free Wi-Fi are safe to use.
Take for example where we have an attacker set up a rogue access point and there is a free Wi-Fi in the environment. So what it means is that when you connect, you are connecting through the rogue access point that the attacker has actually set up. So what it means is that every information you relay, to connect to the internet, pass through the attacker rogue access point, which means that after the time it's passing through it, it is not encrypted. It is not an encrypted information. So the attacker already have access to everything you are doing. Take for example, you are logging into a bank account, you are logging into an official, emails. You already have a crystal clear of everything you are going through, and it can begin to actually analyze your traffic and see, how to map its attack.
And given that there are no data protection laws in Nigeria, how can a data harvesting scheme be prevented?
Let there be regulation. I mean, a minimum. Now, when you are using people's data, this is for if you are going to keep in your database, you cannot keep more than so number of time. I mean, a duration. And let them also make people to understand what they are going to do with their data, and also give the people the opportunity to say, no, I want my data back, I don't want you to use it again.
There is a need for data protection law to be put in place in the country, and also the implementation of the cybersecurity strategy is a must, for the government to embark on. I know there are efforts, from the relevant stakeholders, there are efforts on it ongoing, but I think, there is a need for us to, quickly ensure that across all the MDAs, the cybersecurity strategy implementation is enforced and MDAs are thoroughly compliant to it.
As the old saying goes, no free lunch, even in Freetown. But does this apply here?
People need to understand that when they say it's free, it's not really free because there are some concessions that are being made. So for example, the first concession is that the Wi-Fi is being located in some particular places. And for that reason, some places actually require that you make a purchase or that you actually do something because you are using the Wi-Fi in that place. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, which is the most obvious one, or the not so obvious one, is the fact that you are being served advertising.
Now this no doubt is a very welcome and a good idea for Nigeria, especially as it tries to catch up with its peers on the global stage. But like they say, Rome was not built in a day, so definitely there will be challenges at the beginning, but the expectation is that hopefully these challenges will be solved. Victor Matthias reporting for Channels Television News.
Let's get more insight into this issue, and joining me to discuss it is an IT expert, Muyiwa Matuluka. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the News at 10 at this time. As Victor Matthias, our reporter, just said there, the idea of free Wi-Fi in Nigeria seems to be one that is a good idea. But how will that change the way we do things IT-wise?
Okay, so yeah, definitely free internet is good. And the idea is that many Nigerians still do not have access to the internet, constant access to the internet, steady access to the internet. So definitely the fact that they have free access now means that they will be able to use it more for businesses and for business and for whatever activities that they use it for. So it definitely is going to change. There will be more people conducting business and conducting any IT activities on the internet because they have that free access.
So we have this this perception of what data mining is. If you could just make it clearer, and in that process, does it pose any danger? For instance, if we have to look at how data mining is vis-a-vis connecting to Wi-Fi.
Yeah, definitely data mining poses a danger. The idea behind data mining is for free access. You are giving your information, you are giving your privacy to whoever is giving you that free access to whatever service you're using, whether it's the internet. And in exchange for that free access, they're selling your data to advertisers. And they are also using your data to understand your activities, how you use the internet, so that they can better serve you those adverts or products and whatever it is that. But the thing is, there's always the positive and negative sides of it, and the negatives far outweigh the positive because there is the issue of privacy, definitely. So a perfect example is intrusive ads, or say someone who is perhaps in a space or region where they do not have, they need their privacy. For example, maybe say gay rights, for example, which is still a very, very tricky issue in Nigeria. And for whoever has any of those issues and feels like, okay, you need that privacy protected, and because of his activities online, perhaps messages he sends or whatever, it's very possible for these people that are providing these services to know that this is what you're doing. Now, the question now is, how responsible are they with that data they have of you? Many of them have proven not responsible. We have the issue of Cambridge Analytica that Facebook was involved in. So many times, more often than not, over the long term, they prove not responsible with that information.
So how then do we prevent fraudsters from getting into the system and hurting genuine users of this service?
So if you look at it from the side of the end user themselves, I would say you should be careful how you access these services. You should only try and access secure websites. That's websites that have HTTPS encryption, which means whatever data you are exchanging is being encrypted. But then on the side of the services that are using that are storing your data, the truth is either you don't use it or you just be ready for the consequences that come with it.
So considering the internet penetration deficit in Nigeria now, how do we get this service to rural communities?
So one of the ways definitely is what Google is doing, although we can always argue about whatever ulterior motives they may have, because definitely they're trying to grow the audience of the internet, because for them there's opportunity to tap that, because for advert revenue and all of that. But there are two major issues that are obstacles to the broadband penetration in Nigeria, and that's the right of way, lack of uniformity of right of way charges, which falls in the hands of the government, actually. So it's for the federal government to use its political will to bring all states on board so that these internet service providers can provide infrastructure along to the last mile, to the all those rural areas. And then there's also the issue of infrastructure itself, infraco. So many of these service providers have to set up their own infrastructure for every rural area you're trying to go to. But there's the infraco initiative that is supposed to bring about the sharing of infrastructure among providers. But so far there has been issues with implementation. So it's about implementing all those things that have been put in place to help last mile delivery.
Brilliant, Amos. Thank you so much indeed for sharing your thoughts with us. An IT expert, Muyiwa Matuluko. Thank you so much indeed.
Thanks for having me.
Moving on to other stories now, the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC, Mr. Pt.3, has reiterated the commitment of the agency to deepen local content application in its operations. Mr. Baru made these remarks at a meeting with members of the Nigerian Society of Engineers in Abuja. He describes the deployment of local resources in the operations of the agency as a national call that must be answered as it builds national capacity to own and manage the oil and gas industry.
The drive to bring in local content by NNPC and by my team we look at it as a national call, and it's something that has to be done. NNPC recognized this as far back as the early 2000s when we started with the development of the guidelines for the Nigerian content, long before the discussion on the Local Content Act. And these guidelines that we got through and got one of the members of the National Assembly to actually adopt it and put it as a bill, which culminated into the Nigerian Oil and Gas Local Content Development Act 2000, which is popularly called the NOGIC Act 2007, which successfully has brought in a lot of change into the system.
In the meantime, Nigeria is about to record another milestone in the development of its gas resources, as the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas Limited, NLNG, is set to expand its operations further. The company plans to build Train 7 to increase its capacity and create more value for the country. The Minister of Petroleum Resources, Ibe Kajuku, who visited the plant, is optimistic that this is another leap in the overall oil and gas development plan of the federal government.
The Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas Limited currently sits at number 7 in the world supply of LNG and aspires to be in the top 3 with the building of Train 7. This is a story that brings the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Ibe Kajuku, to the home of the NLNG, is received by its management in Bonny Island, River State. But first, a drop-by at the palace of the Amanayabo of Bonny Kingdom to register his presence in the community.
I am enthused by the Train 7 opportunity that is coming. It's massive investment of billions of dollars back into this sector. And I do hope that when next I come, when I would have obviously been out of government, and what I will see is a testimony to that development in terms of real impact on the people.
Then to the main business of presentations of what the company has achieved so far and the direction it's heading.
It took a while. As Suleiman would say, we built Stretch 6. Every 18 months we were adding a train. But then from 2007 to date, more than 10 years, we just have not been able to move. But with your support and that of the federal government, also those of our shareholders in NLNG, we say the stars have lined up in support of Train 7. And for us, we believe we're at a point of no return.
The interactions continue in the control room, followed by a challenge from the minister.
I've also challenged them that over a 30-year period, they should look at the Train 8. So that somehow we'll catch up to the vision that the president will gladly tell you anytime that he always envisaged a 12 train, and we're still at 6 and 7. But the nice thing is that there are 7. It's almost 2 or 3.5 times the size of most of the earlier trains.
The NLNG is currently running 6 trains with a capacity of 22 million metric tons per annum, while targeting additional 8 million metric tons when Train 7 comes on board.
Well, let's shift gears very quickly now, shall we, to business news with Kayode Okikiolu.
Many thanks, Kimber. Welcome to Business News. The World Bank has unveiled plans to increase its funding to Nigeria by $4.5 billion over the next 3 years. The institution's Vice President for Africa, Hafiz Ghanem, says the increase in funding is targeted at supporting government's projects in the power and health industries. According to him, the World Bank is expected to put in place around $2.5 billion for projects in the next 18 months. The World Bank chief also pledged to provide technical support for Nigeria in the areas of economic recovery and growth plan, midterm review, power sector reform, public-private partnerships, and population management. And Nigeria's High Commissioner to India, retired Major General Chris Eze, has pledged to deepen existing relations between the two countries by breaking new grounds in trade, culture, and economy. The envoy, who made this known at an event in New Delhi, the Indian capital, also listed some of the key sectors to explore as information communication and technology, agriculture, telecommunication, as well as small and medium enterprises. He further explains that no fewer than 50 memoranda of understanding were signed between the two countries since Nigeria-India diplomatic relations was established in 1958. Major General Eze also emphasized that he will break new grounds that will give Nigerians living in India a greater sense, both in the public and private sector, of that country's economy. Well, oil futures end the week in the green as the market focused on bearish longer-term factors after rising in the previous session. Now, the gains were driven by the drop in U.S. crude inventories in a key hub, which fell to their lowest in nearly 4 years. Data from the Energy Information Administration shows stocks at the Cushing storage hub in Oklahoma dipped by 1.3 million barrels, the lowest level since October 2014, which helped to push Brent futures to close higher. International oil benchmark crude, or the Brent crude futures, were at $73.59 per barrel, which is up 14 cents from the last close, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were at $68.96 per barrel on Friday. Well, that's business news. Many thanks for watching. I am Kayode Okikiolu.